Hello, welcome to Pages and Pages. Today I just wanted to do a quick book review, and I kind of like the lighting right here, so. This week I had to take a little bit of a road trip, so I decided to pick up some audiobooks from the library, which is not something I normally do. I think this is kind of the first time I've properly read audiobooks. I have listened to the Night Vale podcast a lot, and I really enjoy that, so I thought I would give it a shot. So I went ahead and picked up two books from the library. One is The Stars Like Dust by Isaac Asimov, and the other one was The Casual Vacancy because I haven't read that yet. I've been wanting to read an Asimov novel for a while now. I have made it kind of a goal of mine to read more science fiction because I like science fiction TV shows, and I thought I should probably educate myself in science fiction books a little bit better. And Asimov is one of those great science fiction writers you always hear about. So I picked up this one because it was the only Asimov novel they had on the shelf in the audiobook format. And the title sounded intriguing to me. The Stars Like Dust calls to mind Dante with his whirling firmament of stars, which is something I enjoy. And then also dust is an image of humanity and mortality and our relation to the earth. And so I thought The Stars Like Dust might be a really interesting book if the book was as well crafted as the title was. So Asimov wrote in the 50s, and I didn't know that going into it. Like, maybe I knew somewhere in the back of my mind, but that became really apparent as the novel went on. So the story follows Byron Farrell, who is a 23-year-old college student who is going to school on Earth and then finds out that his father's been executed for treason, and that kind of launches him on this whole journey of self-discovery and exploration. What is that word? Bildungsroman? Something like that. The main action of the plot is centered in the Horsehead Nebula, which is kind of cool. You can go look at pictures of that on the NASA website or whatever. I enjoy reading about nebulas. They're pretty. Unfortunately, the plot was a bit of a nebula too. It was mostly political and predictable. I did really love the science fiction elements of this. All of the calculations about space and the way that the spaceships were described as jumping through hyperspace and all of that was really interesting, and I like those elements in a science fiction novel. So I loved that about it. I also really enjoyed, he played a lot with the mad fool or the wise fool trope. Feigning a madness is a common literary thing where, going all the way back to Plato, you feign madness, but you're actually the wise one. And so I liked how he incorporated that. There's a couple things about this that I didn't really like, and one of those was that kind of lackluster plot. The other one was the 1950s gender roles, which maybe I just need to get myself into the context of the 1950s a bit more. I thought Artemisia, who's the love interest, could have been a really interesting, wonderful character. She had such a fiery introduction that I was totally stoked for her to be this kick-ass, takes no nonsense kind of space princess character. And unfortunately, we just fell back into those 1950s gender roles, which is really unfortunate because she's one of the only females, actually the only female in the book, so that made me kind of sad. But again, it was the 1950s, and what else could you really expect from a political science fiction novel? It's just going to be a bunch of dudes. So that was my experience of The Stars Like Dust, and I was doing a little bit of poking around about it, and apparently, at least according to Wikipedia, which isn't great but better than nothing, this isn't one of Asimov's favorite novels. It might be one of his least favorite novels, and it's certainly not one of the better liked fan ones, so I'll probably give him another chance and read a different book by him. And maybe not as an audiobook, maybe I'll read it as an actual book because I might notice things differently. So more Asimov to come. The narrator did a good job. One of the voices that he used really reminded me of Eddie Redmayne, which was kind of fun. So that's my review of The Stars Like Dust. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the sound of silence. An aside, my favorite Pascal quote might be, "The silence of these infinite spaces terrifies me." That's a good way to end.